So we're beginning this series called The Holy Ordinary, about finding the sacred amidst daily life. And months ago, I planned this sermon for today, featuring this very cool 17th century monk named Brother Lawrence, and his little book called The Practice of the Presence of God, about connecting with God while working in the kitchen. But as the day got closer and I looked around at the world around me, I felt like a kitchen sermon might be like living out this meme in real life here. Do we have that meme, Caleb? All right, never mind. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Yes, that one. That's what I was afraid this sermon was going to be. It's fine. We're just rearranging the salt shakers on the Titanic, you know. So I wrestled with this. Thank you for following me on that. I wrestled with this. But this week, as I'm sitting down, like, what do? I received this newsletter from public theologian Kate Bowler, and the title of the newsletter was Making Dinner While the World Burns. And I laughed, and I listened. And she said, we can't just stop living until things get better. We have to make dinner. And we have to keep finding the strength to choose love. And so I sit with Brother Lawrence and Professor Kate, and I realize that I need both of them. What if practicing God's presence isn't escape? What if it's how we sustain, resist, and create something new? Even as we create mac and cheese, right? Practicing the presence of God doesn't replace protest or policy or public action, but it can sustain them. It sustains us, and it helps us choose love amidst it all. So, that cool monk, Brother Lawrence. He grew up in 17th century France. He was poor. He served as a soldier during the 30 Years' War. He was wounded, taken prisoner, experienced great trauma, and came to the Carmelite monastery seeking God, healing, transformation for his soul. And then he got stuck washing dishes, working kitchen duty instead of some great spiritual task. And he wrestled with it, but he realized along the way that it's not the nature of the task that makes it spiritual, but the spirit in which it is done. That if we're learning to live in love, then we learn it best by living our life, our holy, ordinary life in love, for love, by love. You can lead beautiful liturgy or preach okay sermons and have no love, do it out of ego or obligation or on autopilot, or you can wash dishes out of love for God, for neighbor, for your present life. And when you dry your hands, you will be more full of life and love than when you began. And so Brother Lawrence writes this. He says, all that is needed to bring us to union with God is love. Thus, the shortest way to God is to go straight to God by a continual exercise of love and doing everything for God's sake. So in the kitchen, washing dishes, he began to practice staying connected to God, to love, to purpose in everything he did. And whenever his thoughts were wandering, he'd notice and he would bring them back to love. It didn't mean that he thought about sunshine and unicorns all the time, right? Love is honest and authentic. And so he wrote this. He said, we would be quite surprised if we knew what the soul sometimes says to God. I bet we would, right? Sometimes, let's just say, my soul needs, before it gets to the sermon and to you, it needs to go through the Kids Bop filter before it arrives. But Brother Lawrence would simply notice what his soul was saying and say it, knowing that whatever it was, that God cared and received it without judgment, only love. And so with that grounding, he could better love whatever the circumstances or the souls around him were saying as well. The practice wasn't dishes. The practice was love. And the more he practiced, the better he got, both inside the kitchen and out. Because he found that God was as present in chopping vegetables as in the chapel. And in all things, he learned that God was so near that one not need cry out very loudly, he said. God is nearer than we think. That's a lesson to learn. In those moments when the kitchen's quiet or it's on fire, if we can find God in the soap suds, we can find God in the struggle. If God's with us in the pots and pans, God's with us in the protest as well. If we find love in preparing chicken nuggets, we're more ready to love those that we're serving them to, even when they're declaring that they only want them if they're dinosaur shaped. Right? So Paul says something very similar to the complicated church in Corinth. The Corinthian community is full of different practices and different preferences, and Paul offers this grounding that can unite them all. He says, whether you eat or drink, whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Breakfast, coffee, the dishes afterwards, whatever you do, do it present to the God who is near, the God who is love. But ordinary lives, displaying God's glory, doing it all for the glory of God. So check this out. A century later, early church leader Irenaeus writes this. He says, the glory of God is a human fully alive. The glory of God isn't found just in cut glass windows. The glory of God isn't found in us becoming less human. It's found in us being fully human, fully ourselves, fully present, fully alive in this life that we are living. And where do we become fully alive? It's not just in prayer. It's not just in church committee meetings, believe it or not. But it's also in eating and drinking and work and in rest. In the 1,000 ordinary moments that make up a day, that make up a life. Think about where Jesus spent his time. At dinner parties, around a table with fishermen in flesh, walking in this dirt with us. The incarnation is God's ultimate statement that this world, this body, this ordinary life matters. It's beloved. And so Jesus taught us to pray, give us this day our daily bread. God cares about today, about what and whether we and our neighbors eat, about these bodies and the bread and the 1,000 daily details of being human. We see it in Jesus' last words that he left for his disciples. He said, I am with you always, which is really good to remember when the kitchen's on fire. But it also is important to remember that always also means Tuesday afternoon, the commute, the grocery store, the silence. We don't have to climb up to find God. We just need to wake up to the God who cares enough about you, that God is present in everything you do, even making dinner. And I know you're thinking, that's beautiful for a monk, right? But I've got deadlines, I've got carpools, I've got a stack of dishes that I just might need to light on fire. But what if we look at ordinary life with love? Think about that grocery store, that Walmart where this amazing person that Jess was teaching us about works. When you're looking at the tomatoes in the produce section, what would it be to look at them with love? In gratitude for the earth that grew them, the hands that picked them, to think that they were probably picked by migrant workers whose labor makes our dinner possible. Truck drivers, warehouse workers, cashiers, thousands of people we never meet who make life possible. What Dr. King calls that inescapable network of mutuality, the interrelated structure of all reality in which we live every day. It's not theory or theology, it's tomatoes. And when we start looking through the lens of love, when we start practicing, seeing, noticing, we can't not care. Love awakens responsibility, mutuality. People who notice the hands that picked the food can't turn away when those hands belong to vulnerable neighbors. When you begin to see grace woven through all of it, the sacred connection and the holy ordinary, grocery stores become cathedrals of connection, and all of life full of the glory of God. Practice love, and when your mind wanders, bring it back. This is where Brother Lawrence and Professor Kate meet. Practicing love isn't escapist retreat, it's revolution. It's saying this world matters. These bodies matter. Our neighbors matter. This day matters. The person in front of me matters. And it's revolutionary because love practiced this way can begin to retie those broken cords of our binding vision. That every person has dignity, that we're all connected, that how we live together matters. Making dinner while the world burns isn't denial, it's defiance. Making homes of hospitality is a radical act of claiming our belonging. The daily life lived with love proclaims that life is sacred and that it matters. So in Kate Bowler's essay, she writes about the complicated reality of that. Living through her own cancer journey, watching friends struggle, watching the world spiral. How do we live when we can't fix it? How do we make dinner when pain is real and relentless? And her answer is that we keep choosing love. We keep doing the next loving thing, the next human, daily, life-filled thing, whatever it is. Not because the danger isn't real, but because fear does not get to decide what makes us human. Love does. Here's what she writes. She says, it feels impossible to live with a heart cracked wide open, and yet we must. So we keep choosing tenderness. We keep choosing courage, even when it costs us something. We keep doing the next small, ordinary, right thing. We work out our hope like it's a muscle, not a mood. This is how we stay human together. We work out our hope like it's a muscle. Our love like it is a muscle, not a mood. Moods are fickle, but a muscle gets stronger through use, through practice, through showing up day after day. It isn't denial, it isn't toxic positivity, it's sturdy, resilient faith that can hold both ache and joy, both grief and gratitude. Love practiced daily, made strong enough to bear the weight. It isn't the practice of love is a luxury, it's a lifeline. Even if some days the only love I can practice is just choosing not to doom scroll over coffee for a little while, it matters. Because when we practice paying attention, paying loving attention to the ground beneath our feet, the people around us, the ordinary gifts sustaining us, we're not escaping. We're anchoring ourselves so that we can face it all without being destroyed or becoming destroyers ourselves. Grounding our lives in God who is with us in love so that fear does not get the final word. Love does. And exercising the sacred hope that sustains us. So Brother Lawrence and Professor Kate discovered this, that when we practice love in the ordinary, we become more someone who can practice love everywhere, that the kitchen can train you for the world. And so I want to offer just a couple of daily practices that you can try amidst the rhythm of your life. So every morning this week, before you pick up your phone or you rush into the day, spend a moment there in the kitchen. Hold the warmth of your coffee cup. And for one moment, turn your mind in love toward the things that are before you. Turn lovingly toward thoughts of family or friends, your neighbor, your work even, the coffee that you hold. Look with love, with gratitude, with care. 1 minute. And when your mind wanders to maybe things that are less loving, bring it back and start there. Before you doom scroll, start with love. And then in the middle of the day, when you're out at the grocery store or any store, choose to look on that place with love. Look to the cashier, to the person stocking your shelves or taking your order. Say thank you, say hello. Use their name if you can see it on their name tag. See them as a person, not a transaction. Practice love right there. And then the rhythm at the end of the day, ask yourself that question. Where did I see love today? Maybe you saw it in someone's kindness. Maybe you saw it in your own patience that broke through. In the fact you had food to eat and work that was done with care. Name it out loud. Train yourself to notice where God, where love is already present in the ordinary. And along the way, we'll forget, right? We'll get distracted. Our hearts will wander to other things. That's okay. Just bring them back. That's why it's called practice. But know that when we practice, we're not just coping. We're embodying the kingdom. Diana Butler-Bass writes this. She says, all Christian practices work this way. Practices shape us to be better, wiser, more gracious people now, even as these very practices anticipate our lives and communities, the reality of God's kingdom that has entered into the world. Hospitality now anticipates the kingdom in which there are no strangers. Kindness now embodies the kingdom where all is mercy. Making dinner now, showing up to this ordinary life now, is on earth as it is in heaven, practiced in real time. People present to God become present to neighbors. People present to neighbors become present to God. Practice the presence. We can't fix it all today, but we can keep making dinner because this is what it means to be human, to be faithful, to live in love, maybe even through the glory of God in us, to be fully alive. The practice of presence to God, to each other, to the holy, ordinary moments of which life is made. From that grounding practice, we find the courage to act, to show up, to speak up, to write letters and check on neighbors and tell the truth, to live in love. Life is made of moments, and there is no moment too small, no task too mundane, no place too ordinary to practice the presence of love that is with us always. Life is where God meets us, here and now. So stay awake, pay attention, and keep choosing love in the 1,000 sacred moments of our actual lives. And as we go, may we be present to love in all its holy, ordinary forms, fully alive for the glory of God. Amen.